Welcome back to Mass Appeal, everyone. Nobody likes failure, but failing isn't always a bad thing. And here to tell us why is Jeff Londraville. He's the author of The Filter. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Seth.
And thank you for giving us those tips earlier. It's so important that we talk to our kids about events like what happened in Oklahoma.
Definitely.
But today we're talking about failure, and it's funny because it's not always a bad thing. And your first tip is that failure equals practice.
Right, right. I mean, we see this all the time in sports. And when they have practice, it's so they get the ball in the hoop more, so they get the puck in the net more, so they hit the ball more. And they do that by practicing. But yet we don't look at life all this time like that. We get so down on ourselves when we don't get the goals or we don't hit the ball out of the park. And it's interesting how we look at it, you know. Well, another thing I always think about, and I put an analogy in my book of this, is, you know, if we were going to a destination and we got lost and we took the wrong street, we wouldn't give up going. And if we were going to build a house and we didn't have the measurements all right, we wouldn't give up building the house. But in life, a lot of times, we do give up. It stops us from proceeding. So we have to look at, what does failure really mean? And it's really not that bad.
And you're saying so often it can make us smarter and stronger.
Right, because it comes, what did we learn from it? So, and I use the sports analogy, but maybe we need to change our stance if we're batting a certain way. But maybe we have to change our stance on life. Maybe the way we're going about it isn't the right way. So looking at it and saying, okay, why didn't this go right, or why did this not go wrong, or that kind of situation? What road did I take down this life, and why did I take it? But I'm not going to take that road again. So really analyzing where you've been to get better at where you want to go.
So if we do adopt that positive attitude and say that failure does end up making us stronger, it also makes us resilient, and that's your next tip.
Right, right. You see this in so many different ways. The movie Rocky is probably the best analogy for that. But we look at, you know, we can get through it, we can do it if we're looking at it the right way. It makes us stronger, it makes us resilient, and you know what? I've went through this before, and I came out all right. So I'm going to go through it even more to really achieve. And it makes us really hungry for success.
You know, to keep going with those sports metaphors, you know, that you say failure prepares us for success. It's one of those things that, you know, if you're an athlete, you have to, quote, act like you've been there before. And that's what failure helps you to do. Exactly.
And to keep with the sports is, the ones that don't do that don't do well in sports and don't stay in the pros for very long, because you have to automatically always talk to yourself and what kind of energy and motivation you're giving yourself when either something doesn't go right or someone says something to you that wasn't right. What are you repeating back to yourself? Is this a failure? Am I all done? Or is it okay, the word failure, take that out and say, this didn't work out, but why didn't it work out?
And so failure has such a negative connotation.
Right.
If we can use that word kind of to make us better, it's not as bad. Now, lastly, I love this one. Failure makes success just a little bit sweeter.
Absolutely, definitely. Yeah, and you see this from so many different people because they've been there, and they've been there when it didn't work out, and they remember that heartache or how it didn't feel that good at that time. But it never stopped them. And then they tried even harder, and they tried things a little differently, as we've just spoke about. So that's what actually brought them to the promised land, to win the championship in their own lives. And I think that's so important, because to get a real deep appreciation of success in a good life, it always helps to know the opposite of a tough life or stuff like that. I know myself, and one of the main reasons why I wrote the book was having gone through difficult times and then be able to come out on the other side, feeling a little better, looking a little brighter, and helping others is all the success you need.
Thanks, Jeff, so much for joining us.
Thank you.